Episode what, Aidan?
This is episode 69, Ashley.
Episode 69, as Aidan says. Hello, everyone, and welcome to an extremely special episode of the TSM podcast. Not talking about anything special, it's just the number of episodes we've done to date. Of course, it's a massive welcome from myself, Ashley Green, and my co-host and best friend, Aidan O'Sullivan. And today we're going to be talking about a topic which is really close to my heart, something that I think about in a lot of the performances that I do, and it's really magic without tricks.
Yeah, this is something that's so important at the end of the day, because it's like one of those, I was listening to a podcast, it was Tim Ferriss, he was interviewing somebody, I can't actually remember who, but they were talking about this whole concept of like, you should be able to take out the sound of a movie, yet still understand the narrative, still understand what goes on. And essentially like taking that kind of metaphor and that approach and putting it here in our entertainment businesses and in our world of performing. If we take out the magic, there should be still some stuff actually there. There should still feel like magic if we take out these tricks. And that's kind of something that we're going to explore today, actually looking at some of our favorite ways to actually help create better moments of magic by even pulling back and doing less tricks. I know that, Ashley, I don't know whether you wanted to talk about what happened literally last night, with this whole element of pulling back on the tricks, but I'll leave you to explore that.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned obviously about Tim Ferriss there. I want to give an example which my friend, my best friend Jack, is a non-magician, but much like yourself, Aidan, like I think one of your best friends helped write your first stage show, as did my best friend, a non-magician. It's weird, like, having a layman, first of all, just a completely different tip, which is tangent. I am Tangent Man. Having a layman write a magic show with you for stage is insane because they give so many fresh and new perspectives. So if anyone out there hasn't got a layman on board to help with creating effects and tricks close up or stage, you're missing out on a big opportunity there.
Literally the best. I would argue that's probably the best thing that you can do when writing shows. And just to eliminate the whole question of like, oh my God, well, I can't tell them all the tricks. My friend, who's probably even listening, who knows, he might be listening to this. Zach, if you're listening, I appreciate you, but shut your ears. Like one of the things that he does is like he learned all of the behind the scenes on how that show worked, and he kind of knew a bit about magic anyway. And when it came round to the show, he was great because he was able to see it from my angle, not just his own as a layperson. But one of his favourite tricks or pieces I've ever performed to him, like ever, was it was a card routine using a rainbow deck. Essentially, it was just a straight out card trick, a card matching based effect, and all of the cards then were transformed or changed into a rainbow deck. So every single back design was different. He still, to this day, thinks it was a deck switch and not a piece of sleight of hand, even though like I showed that trick to him at the same time of writing the show. It just really proves the point that even if they think they know how all of the magic is done because you get them on board, really, really doesn't. Again, complete tangent, and I'm sure we're going to explore that at another point on the TSM podcast. But back to the story.
Yeah, he said something to me, Jack, back in the day when we were sat in the cafe, and it really made a lot of sense. Like you said, the Tim Ferriss example of taking the audio out of the film. He said, I believe a good comedian should be, and you can identify them as a good comedian if you actually get rid of the video and you just listen to the audio there. If you understand what's happening, if you laugh and have fun and you still experience it the exact same, but without the video, then they're a good comedian. Taking that visual element out and just relying on what you hear, the spacing, the timing, the speaking, the tone of voice, that's what makes a good comedian. And I think these are two very powerful points which really are going to be summarized through a couple of the elements in today's episode. But just to tell a story of what happened last night, Aidan, I was interviewed on the radio for the BBC, and they told me a minute before the show, which aired, like, this is why you should always have backups, guys. We've explored it in a past episode. Backups upon backups upon backups upon backups. I came in and I had all these ideas. They wanted me to perform on radio. Easy peasy. A minute before the show actually happened, they said, yeah, Erica, the producer, by the way, her tech's not working, so she won't actually be able to see you. Now, I'm sure I don't need to explain to all the magicians out there listening right now of how hard it would be to do a magic trick to someone, to do a piece of mentalism to someone that's engaging and fun when they can't see you. And of course, there's some of you thinking out there, oh, the anagrams, oh, other types of anagrams and plus mentalism. But then that becomes boring when you're just listening to the audio. I wanted to have something fun. So instead, Aidan, do you know what I did? I did one trick. The most boring trick in the world. Arguably, right? Like, there's nothing special about what I'd done.
All I'll say is I wouldn't put it as a finale in my shows.
I done the old triangle and circle Cyforce, you know the one. Think of two simple shapes, one inside the other, not too complex like a star or a heart, something much more simple. Maybe like a square, but don't go for anything I said. You restrict them down to obviously the triangle and the circle. I done that on the radio, except that's a 30-second trick to perform. I stretched this out for about 5 or 7 minutes, and the reason why I'd done that was because I was joking with the audience, I was having fun with the audience. The actual trick, the actual magic itself, was not in the fact that the vast majority of the listeners and everyone in the studio thought of a triangle and a circle, because that in and of itself is quite weak when you think about it. What everyone enjoyed was the energy, the pacing, the fun, the back and forth, the banter, the jokes, the entertainment, and that is what real magic is. Those moments between the tricks, the moments of engagement, the moments of ad-lib, going with like just bizarre things or heckles or just unsurprising moments and taking that and running with it. That's real magic, and this is where magic lies, within those gaps. And as a byproduct of that, Aidan, the producer afterwards said, that is the most fun we've had on radio. I got them to think of a triangle and a circle, nothing more than that. Nothing more than it's stupid. But they said, this is the most fun we've had on radio. We want to get you back. We want to make this a regular thing. Can you do more stuff like this? And it was just because I engaged the listeners. I broke the fourth wall. I was fun, exciting. I delivered energy which transmitted through an audio experience. That is what real magic is, guys. And when you can master that, it is really powerful stuff.
This is it. It's almost like every single week, twice a week, we're coming to straight through your ears, audio only, through this podcast, unless you're watching on YouTube, in which case that compromises the point I was making. But let's forget about that right now. What's really important there is that actually you've highlighted the first key element of this whole discussion point that we're sharing today in terms of magic without tricks, and that really is letting the magic breathe. Because when you let the magic breathe, when you stop with this whole trick right next table, trick, and so on and so forth, you actually get this beautiful opportunity where people can relax, people can open up, you can also relax, you can open up, and I know a lot of people will probably be thinking to that in and of itself, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to open up, but trust me, it's the best thing you'll ever do. When you
splay my legs at the table, open up in front of everyone.
There you go. But when you're much more relaxed, you can actually show up better in these situations. And again, when you let that magic breathe and you spend the time actually connecting with your audience and really understanding where you are in that moment, it just opens up a dynamic that we don't usually get. Like, we've seen countless performers when it comes down to the whole walk around or even stage, to be honest. It's like trick followed by a trick, followed by a trick, followed by a trick, followed by a trick. And whilst, yes, that's kind of what we do as entertainers, there seems to be that missing bit. Like, there wasn't even any gaps to fill. That was the big problem. It wasn't like the gaps were too short. There just wasn't any gaps. And again, immediate actionable piece of advice from us right now: if your sets or your repertoire or your routines or whatever it is consists of however many tricks just shotgunned back to back, please, whatever you do, rip one of those tricks out, rip out your least favorite and give some time to breathe. Even if that routine is like 5-7 minutes long, take it out and give that opportunity to talk to other people. And at the end of the day, just because a trick is cool for you and you enjoy like that performing it, it doesn't mean it's cool for everyone. And you won't ever know what's cool for the people in front of you until you talk to the people in front of you. It's such a bizarre concept, but it's so important.
Well, I spoke to you about this, Aidan, and you know what this gives you practice at? When you can start to slow down on the tricks that you're doing and actually have more space to engage, you start to think, what does it take to be a better entertainer, a better performer? I was telling you about a show, I think the second show I done, socially distanced, after the restrictions lifted in England. And what did I say to you? I introed the show, and I wouldn't do this at a corporate show, just to confirm if you was wondering. This was a very social kind of relaxed casual show, a garden party, and I was booked merely for just entertainment. They just wanted to have a laugh and have some fun. So the first 20 minutes of that show, Aidan, was me just talking, telling some jokes. I vanished a bottle. I didn't do any tricks. I literally threw it and made a joke out of it. And the point here is not the fact of, oh, I was prattling around. Oh, I really was stalling and pushing for time. No, people were hyper engaged, hyper alert, really enjoying it and really loving it. So when I introduced the trick next, it was like the icing on the cake. They was already warmed up. I've already massaged them and got them ready for this. And then a bang, I've hit them with this amazing thing. And then it's back to engaging with them as well. And the whole reason I was able to do that and keep people entertained for a solid 20 minutes by just talking crap, let's be honest here, was because this has come from practice, from me actually going around and doing tricks and taking the time to really slow down and know how to talk to people. And there will be people out there who think, it's really hard to speak to my audience. It's really hard to slow down and actually engage and know what to say. Bear in mind I'm autistic, so social communication is not my strong point. Yeah, I've been able to do it, so anyone, I would argue, if me, Mr. Socially Awkward, Mr. I have no idea how to talk to people can do this, anyone on the planet can do it. Trust me. And when you do, it becomes better. And the other real reason of why letting your magic breathe is so important, thinking time, Aidan. I've seen magicians before do the ambitionist card, and it's like, bang, it's at the top, bang, it's at the top, bang, it's at the top. And when I watch it, I think, oh, that's impressive. But my brain doesn't really comprehend what just happened there. It's like with mentalism. Oh, I've written something down, then the mentalist told me what it is. If you slow down, you can really prove the point of how impossible this is. You can really build it up. I can't remember whether it was David Berglas telling us this or another. I think it might have been Berglas or another one, but telling a story of building up an equivoque. And rather than just doing a small little equivoque, and again, just a boring trick, but this again proves the point. Rather than just equivoque done, there's a trick, and people are like, yeah, that's cool. I remember, I think it was Berglas. We'd go with it. Berglas, if you're out there listening to the pod and this was you, just please let me know to settle the curiosity. Thank you, David. But I swear he told us this example of how he was performing at a restaurant or a cafe, and he'd done the equivoque there. And rather than just doing it, he was really explaining how difficult this was going to be and saying to everyone, right, all of you, right now, I need 5 objects, and getting everyone involved, getting the whole cafe involved. And this was a routine that took 10, 15, 20 minutes in and of itself. So when the moment happened, because of the process, because of the build-up, because of the entertainment going on, the back and forth and I don't know whether this is going to work. This is going to be crazy if this works. Even though it was a choice of 5 objects, it now seems more impossible because people can comprehend. So when the finale happened, the whole cafe, the whole place where he was performing, just went wild with applause and this insane reaction and just doing something difficult. And it was because people have that thinking time so they can understand, oh yeah, there's no way it could be this. There's no way it could be there's no way it could be a trick. Wow, if this really does happen, I know it's a 1 in 5, but if this does happen, this is insane. And then you get the better reactions on top.
I think this goes down to something that we're always fascinated with, and that's that whole, what are the stories that we want to leave our audiences with? And 9 times out of 10, when it comes down to gigs and working, close-up, for example, or even just after stage, we have these conversations with people who have seen a magician before. They're the people that they have seen a magician before, yet they cannot tell us who they are, by name. They cannot tell us where they were based. They cannot tell us what they even did. All they know is that it was a card trick and he was good. That's about all we get. And when it comes down to moments like this, by slowing down, letting your magic breathe, even though that feels scary probably right now, you actually get to, you get a load of benefits. First of all, you get to heighten this moment and get more people involved if that's the direction you want. Or maybe you don't want to get more people involved. Instead, what you've got this opportunity is you can build on this moment and deliver high impact stories. You can get this vision of this specific moment, this experience locked into people's head in such crystal clear detail so that when they go to a wedding and there's another magician at that wedding, they can tell that magician about you by name, about what you did. They know you on a much deeper level just by slowing down. And we're not saying ditch your openers and just do one trick here. It's the point of just giving that space to actually focus on really delivering your material to the best that it deserves and that you deserve it to be. Because, like, we've done this both countless times, I'm sure. And I know I'm speaking from my experience here. Like, I've just done a routine, given it a little bit of a pause, and then gone straight into another routine without really focusing on making this one routine the best possible thing that I can. And you know me, Ashley, for me, the witch hand routine is something that I obsess over. And because it's just a 50-50, like, I won't go into the full depths of it now, because it's just a 50-50, in and of itself, if I just did that and moved on, would be pretty sucky because there's nothing really impressive there. But what I have to do is build in that moment, build in the emphasis on this routine, make it something that's so much better than the sum of its parts. And so when I go to the next table and people meet me a year later, they still remember me and they still remember what I do. Because I focused on building that moment. And you've got the side effect of, like, you're not going through material at 100 miles an hour, so you don't have to keep burning through new books and new DVDs and new downloads and all of that stuff, because you can really maximize, like, the Patio Force or the Equivoke Magician's Choice or whatever principle you learn, you get to play with in so many different ways. It's so important just slowing that down and building the experience to create the best possible stories. So much of a game changer. I know for me personally, definitely.
There you go. Slow down to level up. Easy as that. But for anyone that doesn't really get this, Aidan, can I ask you a direct question here?
Sure.
So we've mentioned obviously slowing down and spacing out these tricks, and a lot of people are probably thinking, okay, I can heighten it, prove the point. But if you are slowing down and you give yourself that breathing space, what specifically should you be doing in that breathing space?
Well, there's a few things that you can do. And for us, like, we look at this in terms of, like, internal factors and external factors, namely internal of what are the things and the experiences that you've got right there available to you. And then you've got some other external techniques, which we'll talk about actually in a little while, actually. We'll bring it up later. But the most important thing to do right there and then is to connect with your audience in any way that you possibly can. And the easiest question, and when I first heard of it like this, it changed the dynamic of every conversation that I ever had. Are you talking to your audience or are you talking at your audience? Like, that's a very clear distinction. Are you talking to your audience or are you talking at your audience? Because talking to them, you're having this conversation. It opens up a more two-way dialogue. But if you're talking at your audience, that's just you constant, full-on dialogue saying this, well, not necessarily the same thing. Please don't be saying the same thing at people, but it implies like that one-way communication there. Whereas all conversations, and to really connect with your audience, you need to be talking to them and with them, more importantly. Perhaps that's a better way of thinking of it. How to talk with your audience. And I know that this is something that we've been exploring for quite a while now.
One of the things on that as well, it just makes you seem so much nicer, and I think it's the most underplayed thing, really, within this is the use of names. The one word that people love to hear more than anything is their own name. I think that comes from How to Win Friends and Influence People, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere.
It's
I read
important.
it somewhere.
If we say your name right now, Dan, Steve, Eric.
Yeah, derpy Dan, I'm talking to you. On making like silly names. Look, I'm going to cover that in a second of why that's actually useful. You need to be remembering people's names because you don't want to be going, oh, what's your name? Oh, I've forgotten your name. Oh, so and so. it is just unprofessional. Yeah, there's ways you can get out of it. For example, if you want to get someone to say, do me a favour, just say your name 3 times in a row, to just get them to say it. That's what I used to do. If I forgot their name, I'll say, before we go into this, can you just say your name 3 times in a row out loud? Susan, Susan, Susan. And I would play that as a trick because I'd just forgotten their name. So there's a little scapegoat if you want to get out. I think you've got one as well, don't you?
Well, I was going to say, I'll happily share it here. Is something actually I kept it secret for so long as a little chapter in some upcoming projects. But yeah, this has got me out of jail so many times. But rather than asking them to say their name, I always tried that. I just felt awkward with that because like I forgot. I felt like asking them directly, could you just say your name? It would make it weird. So what I love doing instead when I forget somebody's name is I have them think of the piece of information, and if they're not thinking of one, I get them to think of it and just have them say that in their mind. Like right now, I want you to, listeners, think of a fruit. Okay, just think of that fruit, and now think of your name. And now say your name. Now go back to thinking of your name. And now think of your fruit. In that moment there, we slow right down. We get really intentional over what the dialogue and that communication is. And as a byproduct, you just say your name and it looks like I'm inferring from that. And I'm getting something out of that. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. But the long story short is, we just found clever ways of getting somebody's name back if we've forgotten, which happens to the best of us, at the best of times, to be honest.
Yeah. But ultimately, you shouldn't forget names. Even though it does happen, please try your hardest. And if you want my number 1 tip on how I remember names, I look at someone, I look at one weird feature about them. Maybe they've got a massive mole that's the size of their fist and their name's Michael. I'm going to go, hey, Moley Michael. Fat Mole Michael. And that's how that is going to stick. You're going to go away later and you're going to remember Moley Michael, Fat Mole Michael. Like, there's no way you can forget that, and you visualize it in your mind if you want to follow the Harry Lorraine approach to remembering names. Start making it fun, a little bit humorous, maybe a little bit rude or weird if you want to go down that point. And there's no way you can forget people's names. And if you do slip up, now you got some backups. But yeah, using their name, actually dressing them by name will really help you connect with them as well. But you've got to show that you're actually interested in them and be genuinely, sincerely interested in them, in their life, what they're up to, why they're here. Actually, just be a nice guy. We speak about networking in the right way. A lot of people assume, like we say, like the smoothie business cards, and we get a lot of our work through talking to people the right way and doing this for real. And this can be done in your routines. You've got to talk to people. You've got to understand them. You've got to be interested in them. And if you show an element of being interested in them, then naturally they're going to be interested in you. And then your effects are going to stand a little bit longer, and they're going to want to wait around a little bit longer and actually be like, oh no, I just want to get back to my crumble and custard. Bugger off, mate.
Crumble and custard.
So I don't know where the examples are coming from.
That was such a great example.
Moley Michael, crumble and custard. But it'll help you remember the episode. Just saying. Weird things like that, it will help.
Well, look, actually, there's something else on that. Like, I want to pick your brains on a little bit here, because yes, we talk about this a lot in terms of being interested in people and remembering their names and learning about them before they learn about you, kind of stuff, like where possible. What if, and I'm going to be completely blunt here, and I'm going to ask it from, like, as if this was me, so the audience can sit behind me on this one. What if I just don't care about these people?
Get a new job. Stop doing entertainment. Genuinely, that if you told me that one day, I would tell you that. Like, if you don't care about the people that you're performing to, you need to get a new job, mate. Honestly, you're not in the right career. I can't elaborate on it any more than that. I will. I'll break this down. The reason why you should get a new job, the reason why this isn't the career for you, is because your whole job as an entertainer is to put smiles on faces, make people have a bit of fun. And maybe, if you've followed the TSM podcast for a while, align that with your MTP and your actual vision about the future, which you can grab the vision stack on our website, thesuccessfulmentalist.com/vision, if you're interested in that, if you want to take your career so much further instead of just doing tricks. So, look, if you take these tips and you think, okay, I want to make my magic better at a baseline level, I'm going to remember their name. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to talk with them. I'm going to be interested, but I don't care. People pick up on your inner body language, your inner emotions. If you don't care, they will sense that, and then you're going to start a reverse connection. It's going to seem jarring. It's not going to seem right. This is what we talk about in character. If you're displaying a character, if you're reading minds, you've got to believe it from within to actually do it on the outside, because people, if you're focusing on tricks, people are going to think there's tricks. If you're focusing on the woo-woo connection to the spirits, people are going to be, ooh, spirits are involved. It's just displayed through your body language. I hope that... I'm just going weird examples, mate. If you read minds through apple crumble custard, you got to imagine the apple crumble custard. And jeez, where's this going? But you get the point. You have to actually genuinely care about your audience, because if you don't, if you try and fake it, people will know, and then you will seem like an arsehole, and then your tricks won't be... Well, actually, they'll just be tricks, won't they? You won't be an entertainer. You'll just be rocking up, doing some tricks, and that's it.
What's the easiest way to turn people off and make them think that you're... Well, they not even think anything. It's easy for people to just be, oh, yeah, cool trick, if you're just being that guy. And the other thing that a lot of people, and we see a lot of people say, is just, well, in order to be interested in somebody, just ask them questions. But if you are genuinely not interested in the people, the biggest problem that you will face, and we've seen it, we've been there, we've done it in the past, we've had to learn from it, is this whole asking questions that just don't further the experience. Like, at the end of the day, just asking somebody questions because that will deepen your connection with them is absolute lies in and of itself. That's not going to be helpful. But if you are genuinely interested in people, and the people in front of you, more importantly, you can be asking the right questions that deepen your relationship with them, questions that don't just give you more information about them and what they do and all that stuff, but information about how they engage with other people, what their situations are. It's really hard to describe, because that's a really... It's a depth element to it. You're not just understanding the person for like this horizontal plane of information about them, but you're going deep as well. Like, how much could you learn about each individual area?
It's like going on a date. If you go on a date and you just are quite boring or bland,
or just asking constant questions.
Yeah. What do you do as a job? Yeah. Do you come here often? What's your favourite drink?
Do you have pets?
Whereas if you actually care about, it doesn't further anything, doesn't further any connection, doesn't further any relationship. Whereas if you get along with them, you're actually asking stuff because you're genuinely interested. You're actually speaking about stuff because you're genuinely interested. And it's a two-way conversation. You ask something and then you share a topic. They share a topic. You quiz further than that. They ask you something, and it's a back and forth. And that's how good conversation, good communication works. And that is what we should be adopting into our magic. And when that happens, now you seem like a nice guy. People are interested in you. Your magic is going to take a little bit longer, but that's okay, because now you can do less tricks. You've got more in the arsenal, but it doesn't matter that you're doing less tricks, because you're taking the time to connect, have fun, and you're also connecting what we previously said amongst the conversation, which you're having naturally with the spectators, on stage, off stage, in parlour, close-up, works everywhere. You're building it up and supplying tension and building up little moments to prove how impossible the trick is, and you're getting that real elements of depth and excitement to what you're about to do. Now that's going to heighten your ambitious card. You don't need to do 20 rises to the top. I would argue any magician right now who does 20... I'm going to come across like that arrogant prick now, Aidan. Any magician out there doing that 20 ambitious card rises to the top, I could trump that. I could do one and get a better reaction, because I'm engaging with the audience, I'm having fun with the audience, and I'm building up, rather than just doing, hey, it's at the top, hey, it's at the top. It's taking it in, it's placing it in, it's having a chat, it's making a moment. It's like, right, watch, nothing. And now it's at the top. And that's spread over the course of 10 minutes. It's so impossible, everyone's going to freak out, and it's going to be the best piece of magic they've ever seen.
I think it's really worth mentioning that you've just given an example there. I don't want people to think that this is all about going really slow, being delicate with the magical blow or the wave of the hand or things like that. That's just an example.
Please, not the blow or wave of the hand. Oh, God.
They're the worst things.
No.
The magical...
We're going to cast a shadow.
Cast a shadow, the magical... that does absolutely nothing except breathe
I just realised
everywhere.
I'd done that on the podcast as well. I was acting out. I was just like, it comes to the top.
Yeah, literally, that doesn't do
I need
anything.
to re-listen to this episode. What have we done?
Oh god, this is hilarious. No, but this is the point I want to make. Like, just because like you gave that example there in terms of slowing down, like realistically, properly slowing down, in the case of you being much more gentle, slow, intentional. We don't just mean that. Like, you can slow down and have a crap ton of energy. Like me, for example. You slow me down, I might do one trick, but because I've got such a bubbly, charismatic energy in that performance mode there, I'm still learning about it. I'm still doing all of this, and I've still slowed down my trick compulsions, if you like. It's like, that's much slower. And I'm instead putting my energy and my character into something much more worthwhile and much more useful. So I really wanted to kind of flag that up because, again,
yeah, definitely,
it's definitely worth mentioning.
Well, this is exactly what they said on the radio, to link it back to what we said at the beginning. The producer said to me, I love the energy, I love the enthusiasm, I love the way you came across and actually engaged.
Well,
that went miles.
Well, that's the stuff at the end of the day. That's the most important element, actually, being able to do these kind of things of engaging with the people. Because at the end of the day, like I've said this before, I'll say it again, it's my underlying philosophy of you just have to be a good person, because you never know who will buy a ticket to your show. And if you come across like awkwardly or trick in a wedding or a corporate event or a university tour or anything like that, you could literally be burning potential bridges and burning away potential ticket sales to not just one show, but an entire tour, a tour beyond that tour, a tour beyond that tour beyond that tour, or in 5-10 years time, a booking later down the line. There's so many different things that you can just absolutely just burn up, and it's annoying at that point. And Ashley, look, we've been rolling now for just about half an hour. We had another entire point planned in terms of these external techniques. What I think might be actually best is we just give a brief overview of like an example of this, and perhaps we can continue this part of the conversation in maybe another entire episode. Because this is the stuff that really makes magic much more engaging than just the tricks. Because like, we can slow down and we can talk to our audience, and that will naturally create the magic without the tricks, but.
Well, yeah, our next point kind of links into one of the things that you sent out on, and guys, if you're not getting Aidan's daily emails of like tips to take your career to the next level, wow, absolutely, they're insane. Head over to the website, thesuccessfulmentalist.com, and grab one of our 3 things. You'll automatically go on to the daily emails. But boy, oh boy, you've been sharing some awesome tips, and one of them was actually talking about how I managed to entertain a group of people by telling ghost stories. Again, wouldn't do that at a corporate event or a wedding, because like the bookers actually want me to do some bloody tricks. At the heart of it, just, but I was performing at a residency. It was late at night, and I told ghost stories, and I captivated people, and I had them on the edge of their seat, going through the wave of emotions and the excitement, the same as what they would do with a trick, except there was no trick there, and it was through the power of storytelling, which, yeah, 100%, we need to explore that in a later episode, definitely.
Yeah, well, this is the point. Like, when you slow down and you give your magic that time to breathe, then you get the beauty of these internal factors within your conversations, and namely, that's connecting with people, looking at what you have available right there and then, and exploring that to connect with people. And then after that, after you've done those 2 steps, can you start playing with these external techniques, such as storytelling, such as adding additional engagement opportunities. We'll talk about this in another episode, but it's so important to just slow down, connect with the people right in front of you, and really use that and think, what are the stories that you want these people to go away and talk about? And more importantly, do you want your name in those stories? Because if you're anything like us, you do. You definitely want to be name dropped in these stories, so that again will create viral growth across your social media if that's what you're after, or on your email list if that's what you're after. And more importantly, if you're doing live shows, you could create a lot of tickets sold just by creating better stories, by doing magic without any of the tricks.
100%. And I want to ask you a favour now. Not you, Aidan. Bugger off.
I'll go eat my crumble and custard.
Yeah, you go back to the crumble and custard and stories. But you listening right now, I'm talking to you in your ear, on your desktop or hi-fi system, depends how much money you've got. but you're listening right now. I'm really just curious to know what you're going to change after listening to this episode, and if you actually use some of these techniques. So do reach out and let us know. Message us on social media or in the TSM network, thesuccessfulmentalist.com/community if you want to reach out from there. But one of the favours I actually really wanted to ask is, we're on a mission at the moment to transform the lives of all magicians across the globe. By 2040, if you want to whack a date on it. At the moment, we're in 95 countries, which is insane, considering there's only 195 countries in the world. And some of the tips and techniques that we've been sharing across the past year, and especially in our elite coaching course, Learn to Thrive, it relies around like the 4 main pillars: mindset, business, performance skills, like what we've explored today in a little bit, and health. And we want to get this information out there to so many more people. So if you can take the time to maybe share this podcast with a friend and say, hey, you might like some of the advice in there, then it would mean the absolute world, because we just want to help people, help you, and transform the lives and create a better community and a stronger network of modern magicians, I'm calling them. Those that actually entertain well, those that take their business to the next level, those that are in the right frame of mind, and those who are health optimized and, like us, going to live to 200 years old. So, help us help you. Little favour, little plea, little pledge of help. That's all I'm asking for. I'm going to get out your ear now, because Aidan's back from eating his custard.
Oh, that lovely custard. Nom, 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 nom. But no, please do reach out. And again, if you want to give us a little share on your social media, make sure to tag us. And more importantly than all of that, Ashley, if you saw a magic podcast, what is the first thing that you would do to know whether it's any good?
I'd look at the reviews, Aidan. I'd be like, oh, is it worth my time listening?
Well, I think you've just spotted something. Please do leave us a review. This is going to be so important to help these other entertainers actually listen to our show. Reach out and let us know, or on your favourite podcast app. I don't know whether it's a swipe down or a swipe up or a swipe across. Like, you go do that yourself. Go find that out. Again, all of these opportunities would just help us get our information and get this opportunity that you're having right now into the eyes, into the ears, into the hands of... into the bodies,
and into the mouth,
into the mouth of other entertainers across the globe. This episode has been so bizarre. I think we need to ease up on the old whatever we've had beforehand. I don't even know. There
we go, guys. So enjoy that, and hopefully this really helps with your performance here. It's close-up material, stage, parlour, whatever. Honestly, it's been a game changer for us, and like we've said today, the main thing is to shove this episode down your friends' nostrils so they can sniff all the knowledge as well. And with that, we will see you guys soon. Of course, this has been Ashley Green and the wonderful Aidan O'Sullivan, and this has been the Successful Mentalist podcast. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.